Hello guys, welcome back to a new episode of Nest Talks. Today we got the legendary Nesta and chairman Kristoffer with us. And we got the three subjects. First of all, we're gonna start, of course, with the entrepreneurship, and we are really excited to hear about your story there. But first, I would like to that if you could pitch yourself to the audience so they know a bit about what you do, who you are, and so on.
Okay. Yeah. So my name is Kristoffer. I'm a programmer. Have been since I was 12 in 6th grade when I started programming, and I've been doing that almost ever since. Been creating like my own small projects at the side and everything, and also one of those projects with 5 other people was Nest back in the days. Where I helped out with the website and everything technical, you could say. Right now I am in a company called Linus. I'm actually on my way out at the moment, but that's what I am at the moment in that company, where we help personal trainers and fitness coaches, like create a system for them, which basically helps them manage their own clients in terms of creating meal plans and workout plans and so on. I am the CTO and co-founder of that company at the moment. In like a couple of months yet, and then I'm out.
And okay, so you started programming when you were already, you said?
I was 12.
12?
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you start when you're 12? You just...
So it actually my uncle, both my uncles actually have been coding. So I had like a little bit of an inspiration from that, and I also I had my own website back then before I myself could code, because where one of my uncles helped me make a website. So I was like over at his place, and like we did a weird website where it was like a turquoise, like a completely turquoise website with me standing in the middle, being like, yeah, to the camera, and it was horrible, but it was quite a lot of fun, like helping, like creating it, and but like he was the guy that created it, and then I was just like watching and learning kind of on the side, and then I kind of got interested myself. And then it really kickstarted when one of the guys from my school at that point, he came home he came back to school after having been sick for like a longer period of time, where he then showed us like a website that he had built himself, and I was like, I could do that, and like I want to do that as well. So I asked him like, where did you learn it? There was like a website called html.dk, where I just like went into that webpage and like printed out all the pages, so I had like them physically, and that I have like a memory of me sitting like in the corner and like reading them and looking them up while people are like running around and having fun. So that was like my introduction to coding, which was HTML and like the whole websites on like this like free platform, was called the Web City back then. So you have like a free website on it.
Yeah. So was that like one of the hobbies at the time?
Yeah, that was my hobby at that time. But it's been going back and forth a little bit, or like in all the time that I've been coding. Like, so I had like long times where like a year where I like what I did when I came home was just to code, or like a couple of months, and then I would take like a couple of months off where I wouldn't code or do anything, and then I would just like play Counter-Strike or play games when I came home. But it would go back and forth a little bit in terms of how fun I found it. But now it's basically what I'm doing every day, coding, even though I would like to transition into a role where I don't have to code all the time, kind of going back to that.
Yeah, it seems that everyone has to play Counter-Strike to be a programmer.
It's like I suck a lot. I suck hard at Counter-Strike at the moment.
Okay,
so it's not something I'm doing.
So what was the moment when you realized that you could do this for a living, or what was your first entrepreneurial experience? What was first?
I've been doing a lot of different projects. I've been doing my first, the first project I aspired to do and complete was a 3D chat. It's not like a 3D chat. It was called a 3D chat back then. It's like you have a small avatar that you move around on the screen, and you have like speech bubbles, and you can own like your furniture, but you have like this top-down view of like people looking up into like the camera, looking up at the people, right? And then you can like all have your own character on the screen and move around and stuff like that, level them up and buy clothes and stuff like that. It's always been like a pet project of mine, and was also one of the things that I aspired to do earliest. It always failed, except in, I think it was the beginning of university, where I made like a really good version of it. but I also succeeded in high school making a pretty good okay version. Was like 25 people online at the same time.
Like a game you created.
Yeah.
Okay.
And later on, I made like a version 2 where it was like 35 people online, so like 50 people sometimes. It was quite popular in some points.
What was it called?
Azure Chat or Azure Chat. I had like people try and buy it and stuff like that. Horrible. People always think that they really undervalue how much time go into it. And I say like, okay, you can buy it, but it's going to be like 20,000 at that time. Like that's like a very low fee because you use at least like 100 hours is like a low estimate of how much time you use on it, right?
Yeah.
And if it's just 20,000 for 100 hours, that's 200 kroner an hour, right?
Yeah.
And I used even more time on it, right? So I was like, that's the price. And they're like, no, that's insane. I was like, do you know how much time I go into this? And also how much I get paid if I freelance? But so that was like my first kind of things. But I also have done like Martin Thorborg when I was younger. The Danish entrepreneur was like quite inspiration for me. Yeah. So I also went to some of his conferences and stuff like that and met some people there. But very much when I was in high school, like I think my first like real project where I tried to earn money was that I created a site for drivers or like people who were taking driver's license for those like teachers to have a system where the clients can book their hours and they can pay for it and stuff like that through that website. That was like my first real project. Tried to call like everybody. Or like just like phoned up every like driver school I could find. Just like, hey, do you want this system that can blah blah blah? Or like, do you think it's annoying when like?
That's cool.
Yeah, so that was like my first. I did with another guy.
So actually, just cold calling.
Yeah, just cold call.
Yeah, it's fascinating that you also focus on the sales at this point.
Yeah, I was like, you were 2 people, right? And I was like, actually, he would have been better for it because he couldn't code, but I coded and did that as well.
Yeah. What did you do then?
I don't know. It's really bad, but it was interesting to go through it, right? It was quite a cool experience, and also it was the first. Like I was 18 at that point, and then I just got my driver's license, and I had one of these driver schools who was like, yes, we'll like I want to talk to you and see like what you can do. He ended up not wanting the system, or he wanted to buy the whole platform and not like like a weird thing. But I went there anyway, and like it was my first time actually driving in Copenhagen. It was back then when you didn't legally use your GPS on your phone. You just printed like a sheet of
back then.
Yeah. So it was like really horrible. Or I did that at least, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to drive into Copenhagen, and actually and that was okay. It was like it was first time driving in Copenhagen. It was a horrible experience, and but borrowed my mom's car, which was at that point like a relatively large car.
Yeah.
Shitty old large car. But it was. I was like in the bus lane and people were honking at me. I was like, okay, I have to go. And I was like waiting. It was horrible. I lost my way on the way out there and everything. And then I ended up getting there without any accidents. And then on my way back, I was like, I'll just follow the same thing that I printed out because logically that makes sense, right? And then I end up behind the police at some point and be like, okay, now I should not fuck up at all, right? And I'm thinking, okay, they have to go straight here. So we were like at a crossing. I was like, they have to go straight. I have to go to the right. So I blinked to the right. And then as the light turns green, I turn to the right. And right as I turn to the right, everybody starts honking at me. And I look down the road, and there's like cars coming towards me.
Oh no!
So I was like at Kongens Nytorv, around that place. And then, because everything is like one-way things there. And I did not know that. I was like used to that. I was like the signs were also really bad. So I just drove down in the wrong direction and everybody honked. It was fucked up. And then I was like up on the curb and like wait, right? Because I don't know, I was like swearing at myself. I had like a hat at that point. I was like flooring it everywhere. I was like, ah! Fucking frustrated. And then 2 seconds later, the police is in front of me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ah! And then fortunately a shop owner comes out and is like, this has happened so many times before, she says to the police. And actually they end up helping me go around, and they check that the signs are actually bad. So I end up not getting anything.
Oh, nice.
I don't get a warning. I don't get a chip in my driver's license or anything, and it's just like, and I don't get a fine either. So they helped me go around and then go out again, and I ended up getting home safe.
Yeah.
But holy fuck, that was stressful. And I didn't not tell my mom for like quite a long time. But,
of course.
Wow.
And also when the police just like, I know that as well. Like when the police is there, you're like nervous for like doing anything. You know,
Yeah.
You almost don't want to drive. And
It's like, I'm just gonna stand in.
Yeah.
I think my first, just going back to your question again, I think my first like real entrepreneurial thing I did, where I kind of made a website and I talked to people about like making it. It was initially when the Kindle and Amazon started buying ebooks and creating ebooks. I was quite fascinated by this whole idea of like having books on PDF.
Uh-huh.
And I was very annoyed that at that time all the books that you bought online on PDFs all had like a password on it and stuff like that. It was like it was not a nice, like you needed a specific reader to read the books, and it was not a nice experience. So I was like, I want to do the same kind of. I was very inspired by these web platforms like Graphic River and Theme Forest, if you know those. And I was so I wanted to like to do my own version of that for ebooks.
Right.
And I was like, I remember being like, Dad, ebooks are gonna be a big thing. I want to do something with it, right? And so I created this platform called Litrio, or whatever you want to call it. It was like it means like reading or something like that in Latin, or literature, I think it means in Latin. And then I created this website, and I actually had like some people on the internet. Like I had like someone who was a copywriter create me some text for it for free of charge, and it was actually quite nice having people like just reaching out and having people help you with different things.
Cool.
And stuff like that. Yeah, I ended up getting 2 books in the store, but never got it up running because I was like, okay, I need 10 books before I can start. So I got like someone who created a fantasy novel, like a fantasy book, and someone who did like a what do you call it, what do you call it, a poem, poem like gathering, or so that was like the 2 things I got in it, or like I think maybe there was a third, but I never got to publish it because it like I needed more content before I could actually start with it.
But when was this? Just to
that was also mid high school.
Okay.
Cool.
Wow.
I was pretty busy at that point.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot to do in high school, right? There's not a lot. It doesn't take that much time.
Probably, at least you did not have
Right.
I struggled more, I think. Okay, cool. So
shitty grades, but
and now you are with Linus.
now I'm with Linus, yes.
And how did you get into that?
So Linus was so in Nest I lived next to a guy called Kren at some point.
Yeah.
Who had a company called Social Square. At that point it was called Bit Blueprint, and he had this company with another guy called Christian, who was the CEO of the company, and Kren was the CTO. And that company, Bit Blueprint, did consultancy work basically. Like we're gonna code this for you, and like a coding house or whatever you call it. And Kren, they needed some help, so I was like, yes, I can code Node and I can code React. So I did some freelancing for them. So I was like freelanced for them on their project as well. So I like help them. I could like help them when they needed extra work for them. And Kristen, who I'm working with now, was in Bit Blueprint at that time. And then he moved on to another project, and later moved again to another project, which was Linus. And when he then started starting with Linus, he was out of Bit Blueprint at that time. Then he contacted me. I was like, "Hey, what are you doing? Do you want to like maybe do something together?" Or so he introduced me to Bertram, which is the CEO of Linus. And then Bertram pitched me the idea and the concept that he had been working on a little bit on the side with another guy. But that other guy didn't want to continue at that point.
No.
He's now a part of the company. Because he kind of came back again, you could say. But yeah, so actually it just started from there. I think we talked in September and started October or something like that. It was quite fast, everything, and then I quit my job quit the freelancing contract with the Blueprint, and then I started on this full time. And
why do you want to leave then?
I think it's for me it's been a very long decision. But also it's mostly about me having been stressed for a very long time.
Okay.
And stressed out for a very long time. So I've been working and struggling with stress since I worked with Blueprint and was doing freelance. I think the problem back then was because I had a lot of different projects. I was working part-time for some companies, doing some freelancing work, of course, but also on the side I was like exploring project, like doing my own kind of projects, and also having like 3 different things that I want to work on at the same time. And I was like, it was just like a lot to juggle in my head, I think.
Yeah.
And the pressure of then delivering on the side and stuff like that. So I think that's what initially got me. So I had like a whole like almost a month where I was down and I couldn't do anything. I had to like lay down physically to not feel sick and feel like throwing up. So I was just like in my bed, and I missed my cousin's wedding, and like it was really shitty. And I couldn't go to Roskilde either, which was even more shitty. It was just a really bad time for me. But I got back and I was like, I think this whole like having one project to focus on is going to help me. But being in charge of all the programming and the software of a company single-handedly for quite a period of time does not help. So I thought like the whole getting one project would help, but it obviously didn't. And I think like struggling with that for a long time was like also why I figured out that I needed to leave and get my own thing. So, but it was like a very long, because it's going very well in the company. So it was a very long process of figuring out how to, or what my priorities are. Also in terms of like my health, because it's not healthy to be stressed for such a long time. So I think that was like, it took me a very long time to figure out, okay, so the money or like the potential upside, because it's going very well in the company. And I also believe in it like continuing and flourishing. So it's like a lot to say goodbye to. So that was like kind of a big struggle for me as well. It was like figuring out if I wanted to say goodbye to that. Like, or what was like most important for me in terms of like my happiness and my future life, basically, right? So I also like been going to a psychiatrist, seeing a psychiatrist who was like, and like who told me like maybe you should like vote every day. So like every day I like voted like if I should leave or should not, like how stressed am I at the moment, or like what's my drive and stuff like that. So it's also because of all the stress and stuff like that, my drive has also like gone down significantly. So that's also why, like, if you don't have the drive and you have stress at the same time, that's like it just a very bad cocktail. Also for like it's not good for the company either.
No.
So that's why I decided to finally pull the plug. Yeah. So that's where I'm at the moment.
And how big was the organization, or is it?
So we're actually 27 people or something like that at the moment.
Wow.
Having a pretty okay turnover as well.
We're
profitable.
I could imagine.
as well. And we're like we're bootstrapped, so we haven't like we've taken in money, but we've been profitable almost all months. So we don't really need the money. It's more mostly for the expertise, and also to be able to, when we're confident, push a little bit harder on the gas. But yeah, so that's actually so that's also why it's like a little bit difficult, because if it was going like shitty, then it was like it's something different, of course. But it also gives me some confidence in terms of leaving, because I know I'm not leaving it for doom. I'm leaving it for like it's a good state. Like we are six developers in total and stuff like that. So they're all very competent to like take over my mantle, basically. We have the money to find a new CTO and stuff like that.
Nice. And okay, so and how old is the company?
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Almost 3.
Impressive.
So, it's gone really quick, but that's also like Bertram and Theodore did some initial groundwork and some research on like what does this concept actually work.
Okay.
So we're kind of building on the back of that. So we knew that we had something that the coaches already like we could also already earn money on it. That's just a really good like starting point for a business, right? So we already had like proof of concept and of value or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was a nice place to start off, and then we kind of pivoted a little bit underway. But yeah.
So what's the most valuable entrepreneurship lesson?
Oh, from this whole thing?
From your whole journey.
The whole journey.
The whole journey. I don't know. I think it's very valuable. Like it's you need to make sure that you have yourself in it, basically.
Yeah.
And also that your priorities. But I think it's a little bit of a mix. But I think also both that what is your motivation for doing it?
Yeah.
Is it the money, or is it because you think it's extremely fun to build something? And like when is basically, but also setting like some goals in terms of figuring out like when do you want to stop, or when do you want to continue, like to do something along the way.
Yeah.
But I think for me, one of the biggest lessons is probably like alignment beforehand as well. Like when you start a business with someone, aligning yourself in terms of like how do you want to work, because that's something that has also been a little bit stressful for me. Is in my life philosophy is closer to maybe working in a company that's closer to maybe what Buffer is. Buffer being like this fully remote company where you control your own time. It's like fully
open,
transparent. It's actually pretty. Yeah. I think it's pretty interesting business model and pretty interesting way of controlling or running a company. And I think that resonates closer to me than what it did with my other co-founders. And that's of course completely fair, but it's something that has been also stressful for me. So aligning in terms of like what are your values is initially and not just like, oh, we want to create a company together and make it big, because it's not always like those kind of things that will make you happy or like won't stress you out later on, because you might not agree on certain things. And I don't think, what I'm also learning from this is also I might not be able to work in the same way that they do, like working a lot. But whereas I think it's better to work in, for me, like a different way, and also like to be able to work remotely, for instance. I don't think that's big of a problem. Whereas it's also something that where I like to work remotely, and I think that's a good way to do it. Or like at least doing a mix. But it's also like if both things works, but it's like it's something to work for different people, and I think that's a good thing to be aligned on that before you start a journey.
But also thinking it's more about productivity, right, than how many hours you
exactly. But it's also I think it's different for different people how that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely it's very much also like how you produce your best, and I think my views on that is a little bit different from the other guys.
Yeah.
And it's of course like a learning, and then some things that you of course need to know, because we're all pretty young in this, right?
Yeah.
But there's also like in terms of, for instance, some things like you also, a good thing about working a lot, for instance, in some of these companies can also be that you show your employees that you're always there, and because in the mind of like the general population, working a lot equals being very dedicated, and putting your all into it means that your employees will most likely also give more, because that is the standard. Whereas I'm a little bit on the other. Like, but it's kind of it's of course a mix, and some has it, like it has advantages, also has disadvantages. Both models do.
Yeah.
Whereas I probably work better on the more fewer hours model.
And the last question for me, at least, just to end it, is okay, you're leaving now, and what is you jump into a next thing just like that, or I need a half a year just vacation in Malta, Mallorca, Maldives, I don't know, space.
Definitely space. I think very much this is also for me to just take a break. And take time off to do that. I've never like been on this like in between high school and university kind of trip that a lot of people do. I've never done those kind of things. I've always been like next thing. So like I like my plan is now to just take like half a year where I don't do anything, or like at least I don't do projects or work on projects which are something where I commit myself, or where someone will depend obviously on me. So it will be something where I can easily say like, nope, I don't want to do that today. I want to do something else. Because I think I've been dependent on it for a very long time, and I think I need to not be that to get rid of the stress, because it's a very high priority for me to get down to a level where I can work and give my all to something again. But definitely, I'm most likely starting something again. I don't think I can work.
No, but like to have a plan about not having to plan anything is something I just wanna toast to that. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
So I think that was it about entrepreneurship. Stay tuned for the next episode where we talk all about co-living, and of course the chairman who knows all the secrets of Nest. He can't wait. Hope if you guys show up, and we're gonna be there, and I think we are in for a winner.
Thank you.
But yeah, see you.
See ya.